Hello and welcome to Tim's BMW repairs and information. Well, last Friday, of course it's England in summertime, which of course it means it's going to pour down with rain. So on the away to work on Friday, put the windscreen wipers on, working nicely. Got new blades on them so it doesn't chatter like it used to. And then it started making a thumping noise, yeah?
What I had was that there was actually started moving and then pulled up a chair.
What was happening was the windscreen wiper was actually hitting the end of the windscreen, or the edge of the windscreen. I thought, well, that's a bit strange, I best have a look. I lifted the wiper arm up and it fell apart. I'll show you what I mean, but first of all, when working with wipers, it's always best to put something on the windscreen so it doesn't get damaged. Right, I'll get a cloth. There we go, that probably covers about the most of it. So, yep, I lifted up the windscreen wiper and yeah, this bit fell off here. It's not good at all. It's went all loose and floppy. And this is obviously the reason why it was hitting the edge. It's just one of the bearings has failed over here. So we're going to go through this together. I've got the replacement part. So you get a brand new wiper blade, which is good because that one's starting to fade a bit. And the fulcrum, the mechanism, joined together with a bit of plastic, which is a bit confusing. But we'll go through it together. I've got the tool set out here. Got all the bits. I've got this protecting the glass. So we'll learn how to do it together. Okay, let's get on with it. Well, on Meeknet and Tim's BMW repairs and information, we do repairs that I've done many times in the past and I've got good experience of. But the wiper linkage on the 6 Series I've never done before. So hang around to the end of the video and we'll go through the things that would have made the repair much easier and to understand how to do it properly. So let's get on with it. Right, I brought you right in to show you exactly what's gone wrong. This bearing here has failed. When you lift out the windscreen wiper, it just falls off. There you go. There's half the bearing and the other half of the bearing's left in here. Now when I got to work on Friday, because it's really pouring down with rain, it was going to rain all day, I got rid of all the debris around here, this sort of gold stuff, brass it was, all going down this shaft. And so yeah, removed all of that and greased it up so at least I'll get home. And also had a quick look how it sort of came apart and what I had to buy. And so first thing we have to do is get this plastic cover off. And it's pig awkward, this is. There we go. So you see it's held on by 2 clips here, which goes across this bit of metal here. And then we see we've got 2 bearings, one here and one who used to be there. And this sort of strange fulcrum arrangement, and the blade itself is held on at that point there. So I think the first thing we'll do is we'll remove that. So we'll remove the blade so we don't have so much stuff to flop about. That looks about 13 mil. Of course, the wiper blade always has pressure on it, so we'll relieve that pressure. Off comes the washer, off comes the blade. Okay, so what we've got is, I'll show you the mechanism here. So it goes this way round as far as I can tell. Yeah, that looks exactly like it. Got a new washer with it as well. And there's that bearing and that's that bearing. And so we've got 2 attachment points, one which is driven, one which just rides with it. By a look of it, well, that one does seem to be driven and that one not. So I don't quite understand that. But we'll find out when we get to it. Okay, so those fulcrum points, those attachment points are under the bonnet. So let's move that. Right, so these just look like taps that go on top. So prise those off. There's something yellow on there. Tends to make me think that means you shouldn't move it, but there you go. And there's the second one. Now it looks like this one isn't driven and that one is, so it's got the bigger bolt on it. So yeah, it's small. That looks like a 13 again. Yeah, that's 13. I've got a feeling this is going to be on pretty tight. We're okay. There we go, he's off. Right, so that was straightforward enough. Looks like it's, yeah, it looks fine. So this just looks like a fulcrum point and it moves around quite easily. That is a bigger, what's that, 16? Something in the order that size. Yeah, 16 will do nicely. Again, it looks like something's going to have a bit of resistance to coming off. We'll find out in a second. Oh no, that's okay. Good. Hopefully we don't need a puller on that. It's always a pain when you do. I'm afraid that probably looks like that is going to need a puller to come out. Right, well, where we got to was I've removed this nut from the driving arm, and then, well, it's pretty tight on the shaft, that's for sure. And if I had a puller, this would be time to use it. You put the puller across this arm and push down on the centre. Of course, I don't have a puller, but I have two spanners, and I'll show you how this works. You need to choose a spanner which is exactly the same size of the shaft underneath, and when I push that in, it rests on the other end of the shaft, of the drive shaft, and put another spanner in from the other side. It makes sense when I get to it, honestly. Right, so the plan is we need to put an upward lift on this. We've got to be careful, so I can't be 100% sure that the glass doesn't go down this far. I don't think it does. I think the glass stops here. But all the same, treat it as though the glass has reached to this point here. So we don't want to put any strain on anything on the glass. So really it's just a case of putting the pressure between the shaft and this arm to get it off. That's the trick. Right, I'll bring it right in and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Right, here we go then. Well, the 12 goes in from this side and sits at the bottom of the shaft. So there's a ridge on the shaft. That's sitting on it. So I'll put another spanner in from this side, and then by lifting both spanners up, we'll put pressure on this and hopefully get it off. Right. It's on there pretty tight. That's off. It's amazing how we put all that pressure on it and all of a sudden it comes off. Right. Yep, I see this shaft, this fulcrum has actually got splines in it. And I don't think the new one has, and that's probably not a good thing. That also looks like a tapered fit to me. Yeah, that doesn't give me great hope with the new one. Of course, unless when you put it on, it puts... yeah, I think as we do the nut up, it will tighten it up. Now, of course, I've stupidly removed that without reminding myself exactly where it went. So I'm going to have to put on the whole unit and then get it so the wiper blade is flat. That's the next plan. Right, so we'll get that off. That's the old one off. Here's the new assembly. So let's make absolutely sure I'm getting this the right way round. So we've got the long one there, that one goes there. That is the idler, so that sits on there. Put that on first, there we go, that's on. And that, what we'll do is, before we tighten this up, now is this actually going to tighten up on that shaft? I think it is, and make sure the wiper's in exactly the right place. So what I do is I put that nut on there, stop this bit flopping about, tighten that one back up. Again, don't forget you've got glass underneath here. That's about as tight as that needs to go. Really doesn't need much to it. And then what we'll do is we'll put the wiper blade on, which is another 13. Yeah, this one isn't captive like the last one. You pay your money, you make your choice, I think is the answer to this. Now this fella turns up with this device on it, and it's pretty obvious what that is that this is obviously under spring tension. Can we see that? Yeah, under spring tension. If I pull this out, it's going to be awkward to get it on, so we leave the blue bit on until we're ready. Okay, so I'm going to have to get my finger underneath this as well at the same time. There we go, getting more or less in the centre. It's interesting because that will adjust the attitude of the wiper blade to the windscreen. I hadn't noticed that before. Another 13. I'll leave that in the centre position for now. Right, so windscreen wiper's just about on the glass now, so I have to move that across. Now remember the resting position being somewhere around about here, so these two are parallel. I think that's the important thing, these two have to be parallel, and then we can tighten up the big nut. And we'll experiment to see if that is right. 16mm for that. Yeah, I can feel that making, sort of cutting into the splines, that is. Right, okay. That'll do for now. Let's check how well the windscreen wiper works. That's on. Lovely. That doesn't reach the end or anything over there. That's it. Lovely. Well, thank goodness for that. Right, well that's the repair all done. Right, what did we get wrong and what could have been done better? Well, I learnt a few things during the repair. First one is, as we found out when we did the repair, this has got a smooth bore and this has got yellow paint on it. Well, there's good reasons for the yellow paint. It tells you there's a special torque sequence to be done on these nuts. Whole reason for this is that these are conforming arms, and what that means is that instead of this arm being an exact fit to the shaft, it's slightly smaller, and as you do the nut up and push the arm down, it enlarges the hole in the arm. The reason it does that is so that there's absolutely no movement in any direction on the shaft, because if you had any movement that would induce juddering on the wiper blades, something which I had of course and could be seen in a couple of videos I did, but that was due to the bearing failing up here. This had a smooth bore on it, and as we did the nut up, the arm not only conformed to the size of the tapered shaft, it also cut new splines into the arm. And that again is to make it an absolute perfect fit onto the shaft, so there's no chance of it moving on the shaft. Now, the reason that the yellow paint is there to warn you that there's a specific tightening sequence on these nuts. And because these arms conform, you have to wait 50 minutes for the metal to settle afterwards, and then re-torque the nuts to the specification in the TIS, which is the Technical Information System that BMW produces. And so on these, the torque specification is 15 Newton meters and 35 Newton meters, and not the sort of 10 that are specified. So you tighten these to those torque settings, wait 50 minutes, and then re-torque them again. Now, I've just re-torqued them, and this one actually moves quite a bit, which means that the arms settled on the shaft and the splines. This one didn't move at all. So yeah, very important, once you've done the job, wait 50 minutes and then re-torque them. And after you re-torque them, don't forget to put the caps back on them, because it's an easy thing to do. And I found these two caps in my toolbox afterwards, so something else to remember and learn. The other important thing was actually the length of the windscreen wipers. Now, I assumed that the longer of the two wiper blades would be on the driver's side, as it usually is, but that's not the case on the 6 Series, and that's because the wiper system is exactly the same for right-hand and left-hand drive cars. The longer wiper blade goes on the left-hand side, or the right in this picture as we're looking at it, and the shorter of the two go on this side. So that was the reason why it was hitting the edge here when I first fitted them, and probably didn't help the bearing that much either, but anyway, that bearing was failing anyway. And of course, the other important thing to remember is to protect the windscreen while you're working on the wipers, because it's so easy to break this glass. Yeah, especially after I managed to smash our conservatory door glass while doing a bit of strimming. Yeah, that wasn't good. So I've got double reason to try and protect this glass from smashing. Okay, well, that's about it. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Put a thumbs up if you like the video, and I'll see you next time.